So welcome to this is our eighth annual corporate citizenship event. And the purpose of this was originally set up to try to bring awareness to the many nonprofits in our area and the great work that they do that helps to build healthy communities, and to also bring out the companies and businesses that support them, that we depend on. Because a lot of that happens behind the scenes and we're not aware of it. And we have a lot of nonprofits in our chamber, which we want to have. And they're very important to try to help to build healthy communities. So this was set up to try to build an event where we recognize those nonprofits that are really essential and critical and have been doing so much to help to build our communities. And this year, as you know, that we are here to recognize good works and bump kids in terms of the persistence and the dedication they've shown to keeping people in their homes, maintaining homes for people no matter what it takes. And it takes, as you know, a lot of love and caring to do that, and they have drawn on that resource to try to keep that spirit alive in what they're doing. And I don't know about anybody here, but I just can't tell you the number of people that come to my mind that I personally know and my family and otherwise, that home is most important to maintaining the spirit of a person. I've seen people leave their homes and they leave their spirits there, and they forever kind of lost. So it's really, to me, one of the most important things that we can do, and I'm happy that we're here to recognize that. And then we have one of our previous presidents here to join us with this, to represent Citadel. And I'm looking for him now, and where is there he is, right in front of me. Doug Thompson, our old president.
Fast.
Thanks.
Now, I'm going to quickly go through the 7 previous winners just to give you a flavor for the quality of people and organizations that are represented. So this started 2012. At that time, it was the Chester County Food Bank and Bob McNeil. 2013 was the United Way, Chester County Community Dental, and then with the Parson family and CTDI. And next year was Jeff March and Citadel again, and again the food cover. They had started to also take on a new role at that point in time. And the following year, which was 2016, was our 100-year anniversary, and we recognized Martin Skolnick, almost 90 years in the Coatesville Army Navy store at that time. Eugene Diorio, Mr. History of Lukens in this area, and Pearl Sorensen, who probably nobody here knows, but had 50 years at United Way in the back office and made it work. And when I was development director there, you'd come to work every morning. She was the only person that look at me with that caring voice in her heart and say, "Have we met the goal yet?" She was, I'll say, so, and the Coatesville Youth Initiative. The next year was Craft Family and Coaches and Handicrafters. And if anybody went on that tour of Handicrafters, you can't come away without being inspired by visiting the place. And then last year was our own Bob Milliken and the Chester County Association for the Blind, who is, the work that they do is really not something a lot of people are aware of, but it is so critical and essential. So this year, we're happy that we've come to recognize Good Works and Bob Banks. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yeah, it works.
It works? You know who you are. So, as far as Bob's background, he has served as executive director since 2014, after being a volunteer operations director for more than 26 years. And since assuming the helm, Good Works has grown its territory with plans to expand beyond Chester County. And that's their current aim. And in 2017, Bob received the Philoroma Award for the chamber here in our 2017 annual dinner. He has significant experience, previously executive director role as an extensive involvement with the American Helicopter Museum and Education Center as its co-founder, an emeritus board member, board chairman, and acting executive secretary. Director. Maybe the secretary is the only role left out of that one. Prior to Good Works, Bob was senior program manager with the Boeing Company for over 31 years. Graduated from Carnegie Mellon University in '83. Completed an MBA at Eastern University in this area in 2000. He's also a Coast Guard veteran. Lives in Marshallton with his wife Erin, who is a professional violinist, and they have 2 children. And he says, "To God be the glory," is what all that comes from. He's got an outstanding work ethic. He's not sure of this part, so I'm going to read it. He has an outstanding work ethic and an active hands-on approach to leadership. He impacts everyone in our community, especially our youth, by providing them with volunteer opportunities. The benefits to our community are too numerous to count, as I tried to highlight already. So I'm pleased to call on Bob Beggs, and to start with, we're going to start with the result of this event and provide Good Works with a check for $600.
Oh, that's very nice.
Which we are really pleased to be able to honor them with.
Okay, you said an awful lot of nice things.
We left out one thing.
Oh,
Thank
okay.
our sponsors here of this
Yeah, I
event.
was just going to do that.
And Keith is here. Keith is here, right back there. He might be back here, maybe, sometime in October, but he's here with CTDI and Marriott and Victory, of course, as we're always thankful to have here. So thank you for your sponsorship.
All right, well, it really is an honor to be here, and thank you all so much for coming out and joining us and recognizing what Good Works does. There was a lot of Bob Beggs stuff in there, but the reality of Good Works is the work is done by 1,700 volunteers and a small but capable staff in the office. And I want to introduce some of them. You may have met them. Let me just go around. We have Deb, who is our Director of Outreach. We have Larry, who is our Director of Development. We have Carol, who is our Volunteer Coordinator. Some of you met Allie, who is our administrative. So if you call the office, you get Allie. And then we have 2 board members of Good Works, and that's Doug and Nora here in the room. So they're all very closely associated and really make Good Works tick. So thanks all for being here. And I have to agree, these guys, this is just a great event that's been organized on our behalf, and we really appreciate the sponsors and all of you for coming out. So, I'm going to give you a quick overview of Good Works. I do have a short video in here that'll really give you a good flavor for what we do. But this is, as I said a few minutes ago, this is how it happened. So, Good Works' mission is to transform lives by repairing homes for low-income families and sharing the hope found in Jesus Christ. It's a 2-part mission. And that's really important because people living in poverty have greater need than simply the fact that their home is falling down around them, right? You'll be amazed that we are, as you all know, the wealthiest county in Pennsylvania, 23rd, 24th wealthiest in the United States, and yet there's 35,000 people living at or below the federal poverty level. And I can tell you in now almost 30 years of volunteering with Good Works that I've seen some really sad situations with families who are our neighbors in this area. I've been in homes where I remember walking into one it was mid-1990s, and we saw all these milk cartons lined up on the floor, empty milk cartons, and we said, do you want us to get rid of those? Because we'll get And they said, no, 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 that's our water. And so every morning they would walk down to the Brandywine and fill those milk cartons up, and that's what they would use to cook and to drink and to flush their toilet. Now, how could that be in the wealthiest county in Pennsylvania, 23rd wealthiest in the world? So the work that we do is at no cost to the homeowner, all right? And to put into perspective, the reason it's at no cost to the homeowner is because we primarily do the work with volunteers, and that's what's shown on the screen. As I said earlier, 1,700 volunteers participate in Good Works work days each year. We will, with those 1,700 volunteers, we will assist on average 175 families. We do that out of 4 warehouses. Big one here in Coatesville, which is where we started, one in Westchester, one in Phoenixville, and one in St. Peter's Village. So it's a nice split in the central and northern Chester County. The benefit of that is that volunteers from communities, companies, and churches in Phoenixville can then serve families in the Phoenixville area. So it really is a neighbors helping neighbors kind of ministry. And these are the folks that do it. And you see a couple companies listed there. And I'm going to talk about the benefits of partnering with, as a company, partnering with an organization like Good Works in a minute. This home is actually a family who we actually got the call. This is in Phoenixville. We got the call from the city. And this isn't an uncommon situation where somebody contacts us about somebody's situation. In this case, the city contacted us because there was no way that the homeowner could cover the cost of the collapsing front of their home. And this was a big job for us because, as you can see, we've removed all the brick. Our volunteers have removed all the brick. And you got to understand that while we work, it's not like TV where our homeowners get sent off to Disneyland and then they come back for the big reveal. They're living in this house as we work. And so think every one of our work days, we tear something out and we're replacing it by the end of the day. It's pretty significant when you think it's mostly volunteers doing it. But here's the home with the front torn off of it. They're living in there. And this is what it looks like today. And this is, as you mentioned, home is very important to people. And one thing that poverty takes away from people is not just a safe and healthy home to live in, but it takes away their hope and their joy and their dignity. And when you lose those 3 things, there's not much to wake up to in the morning. And that's why Good Works is what we call a ministry, because we have volunteers that do this kind of work, and then we have a whole set of volunteers that Deb manages that we call our ambassadors. And they are solely there not to hang a single piece of drywall, not to tear out anything, but to just spend time ministering to the needs of that homeowner outside of the work that's being done. So they're ministering to their spiritual needs, any relational needs. And you know what the coolest thing is? When we, at the end of every job, we have a survey that we give to our homeowners. And we ask them like 4 questions. And one of them is, what's the most significant impact Good Works has had on your life? And you would think the answer would be, the new front of my house, or the new appliances, or the new roof. And it's not that at all. It's not that at all. Over 95% of the comments are about, now I believe that God cares for me. Now I believe my community cares for me. These are people that have been marginalized, in some cases, for their entire lives, or in the case of situational poverty, as a result of something that went wrong in their life, an illness, an accident, a job loss, things that could affect any one of us, a divorce. And all of a sudden, they're plunged into poverty. And so what makes Good Works really unique is the fact that we're handling both the physical as well as the spiritual and relational needs of those families. And that's what makes the Good Works unique. I want to show you a video. Some of you may know it. It's a couple years old. It's very short, but it's a really cool scenario, and I won't say any more, but to show it.
About 11:15, I opened the door to the wood burner I had in my fireplace, and a spark came out of it, shot over to the wall and hit the curtain. I was just amazed how fast the front of the house went up in flames. Watched my life go away. 33 and a half years that I lived here. It was nothing but charred wood. My feelings just dropped because it's a lifetime that I had invested in this.
I first met Gene last year before the fire to do some repairs on his home with Good Works. It was pretty shocking because it was one of the first times I've ever had someone that we've worked closely with have a fire like that and see how devastating it was. That the home we were trying to repair was now completely gone. I felt really helpless because Good Works is a home repair ministry and we repair homes, but this was a pile of rubble.
Hard to put in words how you feel because you know you lost everything, like you were just born, and had to start life all over again.
The thing that kept coming into my mind was Jesus as the Good Shepherd, and how if even one from the flock goes away, he'll put the flock in a safe place and go out and get that one, whatever it takes. And we felt that Gene, having totally lost his home, he was like that one sheep, and we had to go help him. And rebuilding his home was the opportunity to do that. We estimated the design, came up with a total for that, and realized we didn't have that kind of money in the bank. So we set up a crowdfunding site. Our goal was $45,000. In 8 weeks, we had raised $46,250, and that was clearly evidence that the Lord had wanted us to build this house.
Oh, it was a relief. The half of my life spent here. It's in your heart. You want to save a piece of property you own. It made my heart feel better, knowing that somebody cared and was willing to help me out with it.
It was a little daunting, but we had enough connections with groups and contractors that we just made some calls to say, look, we're into this project. Is there anything you can do? And the outpouring of help made it a process that we could work with, that we had people that would be willing to step up and take care of things we could not do.
People that came out were all ages, anywhere from 12 to their 60s and 70s. There was over 300 people.
Had the opportunity to be there on many work days in some of the worst conditions, and volunteers just coming out and slopping through the mud and just joyfully working there to help Gene, knowing that they were going to try to get his house out of the ground and up.
And we met Gene last year on our mission trip working with Good Works, and God being as good as he is, here we are back again, building Gene a new home. It was devastating to see the fact that his house was gone, everything was gone, but exciting and exhilarating at the same moment to see this beautiful structure was starting to look like a home. And the most exciting part to see was the smile on Gene's face.
For Gene, I think this is really awesome for him to see, because he's seeing that people want to come and help him, and I think we can show God's love through us by the work that we're doing for him.
We live a shallow life, and you're confined to your own area, and that's who you associate with. But to get a response from people from all over the country and to donate their money and time is unbelievable. You know, you don't expect that because you're a nobody. It's overwhelming. It's a beautiful house.
It says, "The Spirit of the Lord God is upon me, because the Lord has anointed me to preach good tidings to the poor, to console those who mourn, to give them beauty for ashes, and they shall rebuild the old ruins." Those scriptures, I think, speak completely to the project of rebuilding Gene's home. It's exactly what the mission of Good Works is. we had the opportunity to share Christ's love with him through all the work that the volunteers did, all those donations that came in through the crowdfunding, all the donations of materials, all came together and demonstrated once and for all for Gene that God loves him.
Well, we'll see how long, I guess that's my time or how much longer I have. So I think that tells the story pretty clearly what Good Works is capable of doing. Not all projects are that extensive, but the coolest thing is that every home that we work on, there's a Gene. And, you know, what was the comment that he made? Something to the effect that he's not important. What's that?
He's nobody.
He's a nobody. Yeah, and you know, everybody is somebody to God, and everybody should be somebody to all of us. And so we have the joy as Good Work staff and volunteers of seeing this kind of thing happen every time we work from home. So what I wanted to share with you is, as businesses, there are some really tangible reasons why it's advantageous to work with an organization like ours, to partner with us. One is that sending, so we do corporate work days. There's a lot of ways to engage, but one of the things that's really useful for employees, your employees, when they're involved in an organization like Good Works, it really helps to build leadership skills. Because when you learn to lead volunteers, and I'll tell you, anybody that's working for one of your companies probably has the capacity to be one of our leaders. And so when you learn to lead volunteers, you can really lead others effectively in the workplace. Serving together outside of the workplace builds stronger teams. I don't know how many of our employee teams that come out and work on a corporate workday have said, you know, I mentioned this at our table. I've seen Matt down there in the other cubicle all these years, never knew him, but then on the workday I finally got to meet him. And so it's a real team building experience when a company comes out and serves together. It also demonstrates from a public relations perspective what your values are when people see you being associated with an organization that does what Good Works does. And you're clearly investing in your local community. But I think the last one's the most unique and probably most telling. If any of your companies have employees that are working at a minimum wage, those are the folks that are calling us for assistance. And so minimum wage puts you at federal poverty level. And living in Chester County, it's even harder to live in Chester County even at that. And so partnering with Good Works could be helping your employees have a stronger home life, because the last thing you want is an employee coming to work when what they're dealing with at home is no heat, a leaky roof, and things that just put a lot of other stress on your employees. So what's the call to action? What I'd ask you to consider, and there's some folks in the room that already do this, obviously every home we work on average, is $10,000. Some homes are $20,000. Gene's home was $45,000. Other homes, we just have to put a furnace in or something that's less than that. The average is $10,000. We have a fundraising event every year where there's an opportunity to be a sponsor at that event. Larry's an expert on our corporate sponsorships. If that's something your company wanted to be promoted, talk to Larry. Corporate work days, every Tuesday and every Thursday in the spring, and every Tuesday and every Thursday in the fall, are companies just like yours who send their employees out to Good Works. That's the end of that. And it's even plugged in. Oh, but you know what? Nope, it's not on. It doesn't matter. I don't need it. I know it's on this slide. So it's and there goes the projector. Thank you very much for killing that. All right.
All right.
We are true. Not only were we dead, we are truly dead. That's all right. But it is on. Yeah.
Your light's on.
Yeah, it's on now.
I did fix that.
Yeah. My battery is charging.
Put that out.
So this idea of these corporate work days are just great fun. Any of the companies in here done a corporate work day? I know Sikorsky has, and I know Citadel has, and the employees love it. They just love it. And so it's just a great day out for team building, etc. The other opportunities, and we have this, we have a brochure. There's the opportunity to adopt a home. So you guys are familiar with Bentley Systems. So Bentley Systems sends employees one Saturday a month, every month. And they literally are a company that take a home from start to finish. And when they're done, they take another home with their employees and take it from start to finish, coming out one Saturday a month. It's like one of our partner churches. We have 24 partner churches. And those are local churches that take a home from start to finish, and when they're done, they take another one from start to finish. So it's a great outreach for a company as well as for a church. And then event sponsorship. I mentioned our annual gala. If you want to be an event sponsor of our gala, that's a great way to provide donations. And then some of you are in businesses. When we did Gene's house, a number of our partners are building supply houses, so they donated like the siding. Gene used to be a contractor, and so I remember talking to J&L, and J&L? Yeah, I think it was.
J&L Building Supplies.
What's that?
J&L Building Supplies.
Yeah, J&L Building Supplies, and they remembered Gene, and they said, oh yeah, if you're working on Gene's house, we'll give you the siding to do it. And so you could be in businesses that could provide materials or services, in order to help us get certain things done. So I'd really encourage you to take one of these brochures and seriously consider the ways that you might want to get involved. It really will provide a significant return on investment for your business. And with that, I'd like to introduce Doug, who we have worked with for many years, to tell you how it's been an impact for Citadel and him. So, Doug, thank you.
Obviously, I did not make the AV team in high school. I did try out. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. Thank you for this opportunity to be here and to not only represent Citadel, but represent Good Works. I was thinking about tonight and what to share with you, because I knew Bob would be a very tough act to follow, and it always is. And that story in that video is so compelling. I've seen it many times before, but it still just kind of gets you, and that's just what they do all the time. But I did want to share with you 3 things that I thought were important for you to know from a Citadel perspective as a local company in the area. The first one is that our CEO, Jeff March, he grew up in Coatesville. He was born and raised in Coatesville. And when he was away at college, finishing up, he got the call that his father had passed away suddenly and was called back home. And Jeff came from a large family in Coatesville. And one of the things that happened, Jeff was the oldest, and as he returned to the home, they rented a place at the time, and the landlord met with Jeff and said, you know what, you guys don't ever have to worry about the rent going up. Next thing you know, the neighbors were coming over, family was coming over, friends were coming over, but the whole community rallied behind this family, because it was like, hey, you may have lost your father, you may have lost the lead breadwinner, but you're not going to lose this home, you're not going to lose your sense of place. And that's something that has stuck with him. And so as an employee of Citadel, we have the opportunity, every employee, no matter what level, we're able to do 8 hours of community service every year. You can also do more if you're at different levels in the company. You can also ask to do more. So we put that out there to our employees. Hey, get out, volunteer, get involved in your community. And one of the areas in which our employees really enjoy the most is volunteering for Good Works work days. If you think about it, the life of a banker, we're lifting stacks of 20s. I mean, it can get hard. But it's a whole lot different lifting a hammer or maybe lifting something to put into a house or a window. Or if you're in our call center, we take a large number of calls. You're basically sitting in a gray cubicle at a desk with a couple of screens and monitors. And a day out of the office with some sun on your face and some sweat on your brow and doing something different is so rewarding. A lot of our employees come back to the office and they're like, man, that was such a good day yesterday. And a lot of what Bob said does actually happen. I met so-and-so from another department, or did you know so-and-so from this department? And there's this camaraderie that builds just from that work day. And it's almost like they get a week of vacation compacted into one day. We actually see that kind of results. I would be remiss if I wasn't a good credit union employee and if I didn't give you some numbers and stats here tonight. So our program started in 2009 is when we decided we are going to be a corporate partner to Good Works. So since that time, we've had about over 350 employees volunteer, and we have about 4,500 volunteer hours invested in Good Works over those years. So that's the numbers. That's it from the numbers perspective. I try to add to our work days or try to increase them because I think it is important for us to always do better. And when I get my goals each year, they're not smaller, they're usually larger. So I try to also assign our Good Works goals the same way. I try to add some more hours that we can volunteer. So that was the second piece I wanted to share with you. The third thing I wanted to share with you, and the final thing, is what I would call a setting, or the setting. And that was, I had an opportunity to participate in our last Good Works Day in May. And I wanted to just kind of share with you a little bit about the setting of that work day. So we had about 10 or 12 people volunteer from the organization. And I had a morning meeting that day, so I arrived a little bit after they had started. And it was my goal to bring lunch, pizzas, hoagies, that type of thing, soda. And I received directions to where I was going, and I was told it was a mobile home park. But the mobile home park was just like 2.5 miles from Exton Mall. And it was tucked in this little sliver of an area in Malvern. I didn't even know there was a mobile home park there. And so that kind of struck me as interesting. As a young kid, I actually grew up in a mobile home park in Lower Delaware. So I kind of was looking for a certain thing and saw something different. So I got there and the pavement was done in the roads, so there was no like stones or dirt roads. It was paved really nicely. And I pulled up to the property and got out, and on this side of the property was all new siding and all new soffits and a new roof, and some people were putting in new windows. And there was actually like a little stream or a little brook that went from behind this trailer, and I thought, wow, this is really nice. This is really pretty. And I'm like, doesn't seem like there's that much wrong with this place. So I get out, I go to the front of the trailer, and I talk to Joe. Joe was the work crew leader or from Good Works. And I said, can you tell me a little bit about this homeowner? And he said, yeah, sure. He said, we actually got a call from the mobile home park. The gentleman that owns the park lives in the area, and he called Good Works because the homeowner was living in his pickup truck in the driveway in front of the trailer. So I'm trying to get emotional here. So I learned that he's a veteran. I learned that he lost his son to an overdose recently. And the house was just crumbling. And so he's sleeping in his truck. And so the park manager reaches out to Good Works and they get started on the home. So I go around to the front of the home and I go inside of the home and it's completely gutted. It's like completely, there is no carpet. There was carpet. There is no ceiling. There was ceiling. You could see where there was water that had gushed through certain parts of the home. And I turned to my right and there was an ATV and a motorcycle in what was the living room. So I found out that the father and son had like recently reconnected. They were living there together, and their thing was they were going to build bikes and they were going to build ATVs and they were going to do some custom work and sell those and make a profit from them. It was something that they liked doing, father son. But that setting to me really struck me as an example of, or a great analogy of what Good Works does. A lot of times we see people on the outside, on that one side, and everything looks great. Everything looks awesome. But you get inside to the heart, and it's like gutted. And there's just nothing there. Or there's some things that are damaged. And what strikes me is that these guys spend time in that faith component and really help repair the heart. So I just wanted to give you some of that from a setting standpoint. If anyone has any questions about how to get involved or volunteering or the faith aspect, or if you want to talk to someone about it, happy to take any questions after the event tonight. But thank you very much, and we're also proud to be the lead sponsor once again for Good Works annual fundraiser dinner in November, and I invite everybody to join in. Thank you.
That's what we had to share tonight. Thank you so much for spending a few extra minutes with us. And as Doug said, if something that you heard tonight touched your heart and you might want to consider coming out to volunteer or getting involved with us some way, we'd love to hear from you. Grab one of those brochures, Donna. Thank you for setting all this up for us. We appreciate it, and we love the chamber. Thanks for all you guys do in the community. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Just to not be remiss in my duties up here, because the current president would probably get on me, our sponsors that keeps us going all year are on the poster board. So we also depend on our sponsors to keep us afloat, and they're significant to us. So thank you all for coming, and appreciate the support that Good Works has given our communities.
Well done. Thank you.
Anything else?